So you're planning to come out to Thailand, you're planning to fight, you're planning to stay here long term or short term, whatever it is. These are just some things that you need to know before coming out here. What is going on, guys? It is Dylan the Machete here, and altogether I've lived in Thailand for about 10 months, including my Bangkok and Isan trip last year, and now my 6 months in Phuket, training out of Bangtao Muay Thai and MMA, one of the best gyms in the world. And I've definitely learned a lot since being here. There's definitely some things that I wish I knew before I came here, so that's what this video is all about. Making sure that you guys know what you need to know before coming out here, so you don't make the mistakes that I made and that many other foreigners make before coming out here. So the first one is just something super simple, and you should probably have this in any country that you go to that speaks a different language, and this is just Google Translator. So you don't really need it as much in Phuket because there's a lot of people that do speak English, especially the Thais, the locals, people at restaurants and all that. They all do speak pretty good English, but it is just good to have it on your phone because you never know when you're going to come across someone that just doesn't speak any English. When I was in Isan, I was the only speaking English person that spoke English fluently, other than my friend Michael, who I was living with at the time, who was also Australian. But other than us two, we were using Google Translator to speak to all of the Thais. We were speaking to pretty much everyone through Google Translator. In Bangkok, you're probably going to need it a lot as well. And another thing with Google Translator is if there is writing that's in Thai, you can actually hold up the camera, as you can see here. You can hold up the camera and point it towards whatever it is, and it's going to change that writing into English. So another thing with Google Translator, you can actually learn a little bit of Thai off it. So just keep that in mind. Learn the language a little bit. It's going to help you a lot. That's a little bonus tip for you. Tip number 2, we're talking about water. So when I was in Bangkok last year and I was in Isan, we were buying water every single day. We would buy 6 liters of water from 7-Eleven every single day, which was 42 baht, which is roughly just under $2 Australian. And it does add up. It's just one of those little expenses that you don't really think about at the time. It's like, yeah, obviously I can't drink the tap water, so I just need to be drinking this water. But you can find these little water stations and they're going to be a lifesaver. So normally it's 1 baht a liter for these water stations. I just have a couple of bottles like up here, you can see. I just refill those bottles and I put it through my water filter. So you don't need a water filter. I just like it just because it makes it mineral water rather than just normal drinking water, better quality water, all that good shit. And yeah, I just go down to the water station that's near my house. I get about 1.5 liters per baht, so 4 baht fills up one of them. And yeah, it's just way cheaper than spending 42 baht every day on a big bottle of water. Just, yeah, saving money on the water. So that's just another thing that you can do to save a little bit of money while you're out here in Thailand. Quick little thing about that though is if you do get sick, which we'll get onto in a minute, you can actually buy alkaline water from 7-Eleven. Looks like this. They change the pH in your stomach. So recently there was a stomach bug that went around Bangtao. A lot of people got sick. I got on the alkaline water pretty quickly and I recovered pretty quickly from it. So keep that in mind. If you end up getting sick, alkaline water is the go. Tip number 3, we're talking about food. So especially living in Bangtao, it is very easy to waste money on food. Same in Bangkok, even though the food is a lot cheaper, it's very easy just to keep eating and keep eating and keep eating just because the food is so delicious. It's very easy to just be like, yeah, I can waste 20 baht on this. I can waste 30 baht on like, and then you just keep adding on these expenses that you don't really need. So one thing that I do is about 90% of the time I'm cooking at home, and you can save a lot of money on this. Your nutrition will be a lot better cooking at home because you're not getting all these extra oils and seed oils and all this shit that your body doesn't need. You're not getting extra sugar and MSG added to all your food. So I keep it pretty simple when I cook at home. Eggs, bread, fruit, rice, chicken, beef, salmon, all that type of stuff. That's all in my diet when I cook at home. And normally I'm spending about 2,000 to 2,500 baht a week on food, which if I'm eating out, I'm eating a lot more. So I roughly weigh about 77, 78 kilos. That's kind of my walking around weight. I fight down at 70, 72. And I eat a lot of food because I train very hard. I've got more muscle mass than most fighters do, like most Muay Thai fighters. So my metabolism is a lot higher. I'm burning a lot more. So yeah, 2,000 baht to 2,500 a week is that's pretty cheap for me. But I can very easily extend that up to 3,000 or more if I'm eating out, and I'm eating out on a daily basis every single meal. So tip number 3, if you are staying in Thailand long term, cook some food. Another thing, these 2 things, boom, blender and air fryer, they're going to save your life. So we're going on to number 4, and we're sticking with the topic of food, and we're talking about how some food in Thailand is a lot more expensive and some food is a lot cheaper. Now, obviously, this is going to change depending on where you are in the world, just depending on the soil, what things grow in your country, what types of animals in your country, all that type of stuff adds into effect. So I have a list of all the cheap foods that I eat and the more expensive ones. So the cheap ones, got it all written down here because I have a big brain. Cheap. So we got rice, chicken, most vegetables, watermelon, bananas, pineapples, and oats. So they're the pretty cheap foods. Did I put eggs in there? No, I didn't, but eggs should be on there. So yeah, those are just my kind of staple foods that I eat a lot of. With the vegetables, I mostly stick to like garlic, ginger, tomatoes, capsicum, sometimes some broccoli. I don't go crazy on the broccoli anymore though, just because I feel better when I have less. But yeah, that's just some of the cheap foods that are a good option to kind of base your diet around, especially they're good, they're healthy, they're going to keep your body moving, and they're not overly expensive. Now, with a little bit of expensive stuff, not saying that you shouldn't have this in your diet, but just be a bit more mindful if you're trying to be on a budget. So you got your bread, you got your dairy, which is like your milks, your cheeses, your yogurts, all that type of stuff. Yogurt you can get relatively cheap. I got one yogurt in the fridge, which I'll take a photo up. This yogurt's not overly expensive. It's about 50 to 60 baht, depending where you go for a decent tub. Blueberries. Now, I love blueberries, but they are expensive in Thailand. So I get the frozen kind from Macro. I believe they're about 200 or 300 baht for a kilo, which isn't too bad, but compared to most fruits, that does back the bank a little bit, mate. Salmon, which I have probably once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Just good to chuck it in there. It's good for the brain, especially when I'm getting punched in the head as much as I am. And honey. So honey, I just get from Lotus. You got these kind of little glass bottles. Boom. They've got 2 packs of these for 400 baht. These 2 bottles have lasted me nearly 3 months. So it's a rare expense that I really chuck up there. Nuts also. I don't think I said that. No, I didn't say nuts. But nuts are a fair bit more expensive than your rices and your chickens and all that. But just worth having there just for a little snack if you do get a little bit peckish in between training sessions. And they're very good for you, mate. And whenever I'm cutting weight, I'm eating a lot of nuts. All right, number 6, we are talking about something that is very dreaded in Thailand. And unfortunately, living in a hot climate, it is very common out here. And we are talking about infections, which are staph and ringworms. So I have only really gotten staph when I've been out in Thailand. I only got it once in Australia, and that was this year after I'd already been in Thailand, and I dealt with a really shit staph infection last year. If you know my story, you know all about that, yada yada. And yeah, so it's very common out here. You got to make sure that you're washing yourself after every session. There are definitely some good soaps. I've got a full video down below of me dealing with a staph infections where I go over absolutely everything from the soaps that you use, natural remedies to get away from it, all that type of stuff. But when it comes to staph and ringworm, they're annoying to be around. If you got ringworm, it's not contagious. Just make sure you're keeping it covered when, well, it is contagious, but it's not deadly. So make sure you're keeping it covered when you train. If you've got a fight coming up and you have to train, make sure it's being wrapped. Make sure you're using your creams on it. Get some antifungal shampoo. That's going to be very big on the recovery for that. Get that shit out of your system. And when it comes to staph infections, rest, because you don't want to be spreading that shit around the gym because that is deadly. Recently we had a guy named Tim Schultz who was at Bangtao about 6 months ago when I got here. Friday afternoon he was fine. 10 days later he's flying back to hospital with half the skin on his leg missing. Flying back to Australia with half the skin on his leg missing. Scary shit. So you got to take staph infections seriously. So main things you can do for staph infections to keep them at bay is cover all the basics. You know, wash yourself after training, clean, like live in a clean living environment. Make sure that you're washing your clothes after every session. Doesn't have to be like a full-on wash. Chuck it in a bucket, hot water, vinegar, a little bit of soap in there. Let it sit for a few hours and then hang it out to dry. Doesn't need to be anything crazy, but I do that after every session. Eat your garlic, eat your ginger because they're very fucking good for fighting infections. Make sure you're recovering, whether it's ice bath, sauna, massage, sleep. Sleep is going to be a massive thing when it comes to that. Diet, it's all going to play a part. So just make sure that you're on top of your general health, and you're going to find that your infections don't stay around as long as they should. And you're not going to get them as much as you could be. Number 7, final thing, and this isn't obviously a thing if you know where you want to be for a long time, but just take it from my advice. Don't pay for a long time up front when it comes to anything, whether it's a gym membership, whether it's a hotel, anything like that. You know, if you're going to do a month, like don't pay more than a month for a hotel, unless you know for a fact that you've been to this hotel, you know the location, you know the area, you know you want to stay here, you know, make sure that you book a month in advance. Same when it comes to the gym membership. So when I first moved to Bangtao, I thought I was only really going to be here for a month, and then I was going to fuck off to Bangkok and start training Muay Thai up in Bangkok again. But then I realized how good the Muay Thai was actually here, and they've got the Hickman brothers here, and I've built a good relationship with everyone here. It's a great gym. I love the gym here. I love the people here. I love the classes. I love the environment. I love everything about this gym. So I only paid for a month with it in mind that I was going to leave. And then they ended up convincing me pretty much to stay. Not even like them convincing me. I just decided like this is a place where I can base myself. But last year when I was in Bangkok, I paid for 2 months up front, even though for a certain gym, 2 months up front for a certain gym. And even though it was the same price to book for a month versus 2 months, like I could have just done a month and then a month again, and it would have been the same price. Don't know why the fuck I did that. But halfway through the second month, like I kind of just wanted to leave the gym. I didn't really want to be there anymore. And it wasn't nothing against the gym. It was just like I wanted to explore my options. I wanted to try other gyms in Bangkok. I wanted to move to Isan. I wanted to do all that type of stuff. And yeah, that's the main thing. Like you're just gonna make sure that you you don't pay for a long time up front, because then you're probably gonna regret it and you're not gonna enjoy your time as much. So unless you know where you're staying, unless you know like this is specifically where I want to be, don't do it. I even know people that went down to Tiger Muay Thai and they paid for 3 months up front because they expected the Hickmans to be there, and then obviously they're gone. They're in Bangtao now, and people just wasted 3 months. So book a week, book a month, whatever it is, try out everything, make sure this is where you want to be, and then go from there. So guys, if you're coming out to Thailand, these are just some things that you need to know. Make sure that you follow these tips. You're going to be saving yourself a lot of money. You're going to be saving yourself mistakes that I made, mistakes that a lot of other foreigners made. And yeah, just make sure you follow these things and you should be right. You should have a good time and you should make the most out of your trip. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure that you follow me on my social medias down below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a lovely day.